Alright everybody, today we are going to be ranking every single biome in Terraria from worst to best. Now do remember, I'm the Terraria knowing man. I have 3.5 hours in this game, and so I know what I'm talking about. The first biome up here is the Ether, which is also, I'm pretty sure, the most recent biome added to Terraria, and I think that it's, it's okay. Pretty cool looking biome, but it's also extremely rare, and it doesn't really play an essential role in the game, so yeah, you gotta put this in the C tier. A beehive is a beehive. Only thing about this place that I can remember is that it has Queen Bee, and Queen Bee is the best mediocre boss in Terraria. For that, I'm putting it in the B tier. The next biome to rank is the Cavern, which is basically just the underground world in general. I would say that it's just a straight up classic. I love exploring the cavern, seeing all the enemies, getting all of the loot. This is kind of the first place that you truly explore in Terraria. For that, A tier. Corrupted Desert is annoying. All of the enemies from this biome are super terrible, and also it's a very forgettable area. D tier. Corrupted Snow biome, on the other hand, now this is a straight up okay biome. It's a little bit nicer than the Corrupted Desert. I don't hate the Corrupted Snow that much, and I think that it actually has a pretty cool aesthetic, but once again, kind of forgettable, and the original Corruption is way more memorable, so C tier. The original Corruption, the classic Terraria evil biome, I'm gonna put this in the S tier, no explanation needed. The Crimson is the Corruption, but bad. Now, I know everybody's gonna tell me that technically the Crimson is literally better in every way. It has more enemies and better gear and better armor, and they would be right about all those things, but hear me out, the music's worse, and it looks less cool, so C tier. Crimson Desert, D tier. Crimson Snow, D tier. Moving on, the Desert. The Desert is once again a classic Terraria biome. I remember how fun it was to discover a pyramid for the first few times. Even today, finding a pyramid still feels like such a cool little thing. I feel like the potential of the biome has definitely been missed out on to a large extent, but still, B tier. The Dungeon, once again, classic area, lots of really good loot. Not as memorable as something like the Desert or the Cavern or the Beehive, but it is pretty cool. The enemies are extremely annoying, and I would never come back to this area unless I needed the gear, but it feels like a pretty cool reward to beating Skeletron, and a lot of the really important stuff is down here. B tier. Forest, classic, S tier, no explanation. Glowing Moss is not actually a real biome. F tier. Glowing Mushroom, now this is a classic biome. It has the funkiest music in the game, one of the most recognizable aesthetics, really interesting enemies, and all of the gear is in this area. Whenever I start up a Terraria world, the first thing I do is dig underground and look for a glowing mushroom biome, because I know I'll get at least some heart containers and some decent gear from the chests. A tier. Granite biome is slightly more real than the glowing moss biome, but still feels like a cavern sub area, so D tier. The Graveyard is also not very memorable. It summons ghosts, which is super annoying, especially in expert and master mode, so it's kind of just a annoying biome. But on the other hand, it is actually pretty cool, so C tier. The Hollow. Now this is the biome. The music is so unique, the aesthetic is so positive and kind of disturbing. The enemies are so annoying, but cool looking. Of any biome in Terraria, the Hollow is probably home to the most interesting gear. In particular, the Rod of Discord and a few of the magic weapons that you can find from the Hollow are extremely interesting and fun. The bosses are also pretty good. Queen Slime is alright, the Empress of Light is arguably the best boss fight in the entire game, and I just really like the aesthetic, so you gotta put this in the S tier. The Hollowed Desert is once again pretty forgettable. B tier, same with the Hollowed Snow. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the Ice biome, which I'm pretty sure is just the underground snow biome, and it's pretty cool. The music is very funky and interesting. The atmosphere is so unique. Considering how safe the Ice biome is most of the time, the gear that you can find here is actually very good. You can obviously find the best early game gear in the underground desert and jungle, but those areas are pretty dangerous and can kill you pretty easily, unlike the Ice biome, which is extremely safe to explore, so A tier. Now we've got the Surface Jungle. On one hand, I hate this biome, and on the other hand, I love this biome. It is one of the most unique and interesting areas in the game. It feels like they put a lot of effort and care into making this place special, but at the same time, it's got jungle slimes, and it's got hornets, and it's got the turtles. I would usually put it in S tier, but the enemies are really annoying, so A tier. Jungle Temple, very cool, very interesting, but it has Golem. C tier. The marble is sort of like the granite biome in the sense that it doesn't really feel like its own thing, but the marble is still pretty cool. C tier. Now we're going to be talking about the ocean, and this is truly the most underutilized biome in Terraria. It has amazing music, possibly the best boss fight in all of Terraria with Duke Fishron, a very cool aesthetic, and despite that, there's basically nothing here. So many mods out there like the Calamity mod will make the ocean really cool and interesting to explore with so much unique content, but in base game Terraria, it's kind of just there. I really want to put it in the S tier because I just love the way the ocean feels in Terraria, but it has so little content that I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Snow biome. Everything I said about the ice biome can kind of be said about the snow. Very cool, not the best, A tier. Space. Now this is straight up the most atmospheric biome in all of Terraria because the music is so alien and it feels like you're truly away from the rest of the world. It also has some pretty cool enemies with the harpies and the wyvern. I really like the floating islands in the sky. In terms of actual use, the space biome is not that good. There's not that much useful stuff there, but it's a very cool place regardless. S tier. Spider nest, gotta hate spiders, F tier. Surface mushroom biome. I kind of just grouped this in with glowing mushroom, but I guess it's slightly different. The surface mushroom is usually where you're gonna put your truffle NPC, and the truffle is pretty cool. It's not as good as the glowing mushroom biome, but it is pretty cool. A tier. Town, not a biome, but obvious S tier. I mean, you put all your NPCs here, right? Now we're moving on to the underground biome, starting with the underground corruption. This is where you're gonna get all of your hard mode gear for the most part, at least early into hard mode. Some of the enemies are pretty annoying, but also pretty distinct. And the music, man, the music is such a great twist on the original cavern theme. It is certainly an annoying biome, it is certainly not the best, but it's also extremely useful, and for that, you gotta put it in the A tier. Same thing goes for the underground crimson. I do hate the crimson, but it's very useful, especially in hard mode. The underground desert. This area kind of freaks me out for whatever reason. I don't really know why, but it's probably just the enemies and the noises they make. This area is basically as dangerous as the underground jungle, except you can barely get any gear out of the underground desert in comparison. So B tier. The Underground Hollow is a very useful place to go to, especially if you're playing as a ranger or a mage, and the enemies are surprisingly fun to fight. Unlike the Corruption or the Crimson, the Hollow is just not a very annoying area, which is why it's my favorite of the 3 evil biomes. Maybe I have some bias just because I prefer the original Hollow, but I'm gonna put the Underground Hollow in the S tier. Underground Jungle. Now this is once again, like the original jungle, one of the most annoying areas in the game, but it also has the best early game gear. S tier. Last but not least, we are going to be ranking the Underworld, one of the most dangerous and one of the most cool biomes at the same time. I hate the fire imps, I hate the weird skeleton guy who jumps out of the ground, I can't stand the bats, but it also has the Wall of Flesh, which is one of the coolest bosses in the entire game. It also makes for a really cool set piece as the final area of pre-hard mode Terraria, because it truly does feel like the end of this chapter of the game, you know, with all of the gear and interesting music in the background. Gotta put the Underworld in the A tier. And there you go, there you have it. This is the official Terraria biome tier list. Once again, like I told you, I have the level 76 character in the Terraria game, which means that I am the pro. Just look at this gameplay right here. You're really gonna doubt this guy's opinion?